help you focus, to really understand what you're doing, you have to say no a lot. And when you say no a lot, that narrows in exactly what you need to do. And you know when you're successful or not because you focus solely on this one thing or these two things. When you say yes a lot to everything, you can get distracted. So when this thing's not going right, I'm gonna go focus on this thing for a while. And then I move to this one, and then you go, oh yeah, I don't need to do those now, I'm gonna work on this. When you say no to a lot of things, you have to get the right, one thing you're doing really right, because that's it. Nest Learning Thermostat's only been on the market for 2 years. Just came up on its birthday. We've made 2 generations. When we combine all of the savings that we've seen from just, we're in less than 1% of homes in a lot less than 1% of homes in North America. We've already saved 1 terawatt or 1 billion kilowatt hours of energy with those devices. And so for us, we're just astounded by what we can do by trimming the waste, and people are still staying comfortable. It's not like they're like living in caves or whatever, putting on parkas all the time or whatever, or sweating. They're literally still comfortable. So there's so much waste that we can trim back. And so for us, a billion kilowatt hours, that's equivalent to a weekday in the US during the day, 15 minutes, just the entire US energy consumption for 15 minutes. We did that in about 20 months. So could you imagine what we do with 5% of households or 10% of households? We're worrying about all this extra generation capability and all the renewables that we can put on the roofs and getting enough wind power and all these other things. Geez, we have power plants sitting there, we're just wasting the power every day. How many megawatts can we generate a day if we were all to just use our things that we have around us that use energy efficiently and allow the computers to take it over, as opposed to us having to behaviorally change it every day? Oh, I'm going to change it, I'm going to shift it. Let the computers, we understand, you guys understand this, algorithms can work really, really well when when they have the right sensor technology and the right user interface. Each product itself should stand alone, right? So the thermostat should stand alone, and it should be work really well, and it does what it does. Nest Protect, our smoke and CO alarm, it should stand alone and work really, really well. But if they come together, they should work together in very interesting ways. And so what we've done, and it should do it automatically. So what we did was, when you get a CO event, a carbon monoxide alarm, well, the #1 cause of carbon monoxide leaks in a home is a faulty furnace. So if you have a Nest thermostat, well, what would it make sense to do? Turn off your furnace. So if you get a CO event, we'll turn off your furnace. Makes sense, right? And then we'll send you a message, tell you what we did and all that stuff, and we'll tell you what to do in the case of a CO event. But that is just one of those really basic things that seems to make total sense. And you don't have to do anything special. Just put those 2 things in your account and we'll do it automatically. So we try to blend them and do it really simply. We're not trying to be the one button where you press one button and your lights go down and your shades go down and your temperature goes up and the TV comes on. We think that's kind of geek land. That's not a typical home. That's not, people asked us, why do you even have a display? Why do you even have a thermostat? You should just control it all by the phone. When I come home and I go away, it should just do it. And I'm like, are you married? And they go, no. I said, do you know kids live in a house? Oh, I'm like, so sometimes people have to use it and they don't have a smartphone. Or, you can't just think that there's only one person in the house. I stick with the things that are going to be groundbreaking technologies that most people won't fund. Stuff that are dramatically different. I won't do execution plays. I won't do things that are like, oh, we got this neat consumery thing that just doesn't have enough differentiation. I like the deep technical stuff where there's great minds working on something that I can see that if they hit it right,
See you,
Robbie? It's been too long. Absolutely.
We start each session off with a handshake. So
Just one.
just one handshake.
We'll do it at the end.
You can close with a handshake too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No hugs.
We can hug
if you want.
anything.
I prefer them.
Okay.
It's been a bad day.
Oh, say more or not? Okay.
Lawyers, when you got to deal with lawyers all day.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so what we're talking about with the industrialist dilemma is what changes when we move from an industrial world to a digital one, and how should industrialists respond, and how are disruptive companies and technologies sort of forcing them to kind of, sort of bear this new reality. So I think maybe just to back up though, it would be great if you want to give like the founding story of Nest. I mean, you obviously have a pretty incredible background. Maybe if you want to weave any of that in terms of how you led to Nest, and just to level set the conversation.
Okay, sure. Nest was kind of born out of 20 years of experience, more than 20 years of experience I've had in Silicon Valley and around doing technology around the world. And there was a lot of lessons that I learned leading up to starting Nest, because I had other startup companies before then that some utterly failed miserably, okay? I also had startup divisions of major corporations, 400,000 people. I was like reporting the CEO building, like what Honeywell might be building, or who knows what competitors trying to build underneath it. So I've been in the big company world and the small company world for over 20 years and seen all kinds of different angles and failed a lot. So going into Nest, I wanted to take all those learnings and apply them and understand, when do you shift the market, when do you get bought, all those different things. So bring that to bear. So Nest was born out of my frustration that over 10 years I was trying to get a thermostat just to heat and cool my place up in Tahoe, and remotely, because we'd go up there and it would take 6 hours to warm up and we're all freezing, and and then we had kids and they didn't like that at all. So that was just how it started. It started from, I saw the iPhone coming. We were in development of the iPhone. I was building this house in Tahoe, and I'm like, wait a second. The world is going to dramatically change. The control of the world is going to be in your hand at all times. Everything in your world. So how is a home going to change? And so I wanted to make it the most green, most connected home possible. And that is where, going through every single piece of designing the house and understanding every mechanical system, electrical system, I said, that's a problem, that's a problem. And we created a whole list of all the problems that I saw. And during that 4 years of design and development, I kept looking for new things, new products from those same things. And most of them, some things like refrigerators and dishwashers, they got better. But things like thermostats, smoke detectors, various other things, we're not getting any better. They were just commodity-based products. And so I was like, why is this? So I started designing my own, and I was like, wait a second, there's so much better ways of doing this. They were trying to basically put calendars on it and photos on the thermostat, but they never made a beta thermostat. They just wanted to raise the price of the thermostat, but didn't make it better or easier to use. So fast forward, I said, okay, here's a nice, interesting product we could build. I was like, I know the team, I know the technology, and then I'm like, who could build this? So I looked at all the incumbents, and none of them had the requisite technology, as you said, all of these different functions, and especially not consumer marketing and not consumer retail, right? So it wasn't just about technology. It was about all the other things of go-to-market to actually be able to talk to the consumer, because no one cares about thermostats today. Guess what? A lot of things people didn't care about before. But until you market it, and you market it right, and you make it attractive, and you make a real great value proposition, that's when the world wakes up and goes, wait a second, I've been duped all these years. I want to actually have the choice. I don't want to tell what this installer guy, Mr. Buttcrack, like.
Yeah, we're going to bleep that. Yep.
Yeah, he says, put this one on the wall. And that thing on the wall is like a $49 unit. He sells it to you for $250. He won't tell you what it is because all the SKUs are different. You can't compare them. So the Honeywells of the world were designing their products for the installers, not the consumers. They were marketing them to the installers, not the consumers. They were making them the cheapest things possible, the most technical features possible, and they forgot all about the users. And that was kind of the insight there was, I have a problem, I can't get better ones. Why is that? The technology is changing dramatically. They don't have the capability, and they don't have the communications plan to be able to tell the world about it. I was like, and then wait a second, how big's the business? Oh, 12 million units are sold a year in the US alone just to residences. That's more than video game systems. That's more than most stoves, ovens, refrigerators. I was like, wait a second. Oh, and by the way, 50% of your energy bill is controlled by it.
Do you know how much it compares like toilets or anything?
Yeah, it's because toilets most people don't buy, change them out.
Yeah,
so it's
right.
a very low, very low thing. So so that was the whole thing. So looking at the marketing, looking at the channels, looking at the technology.
How soon did you realize that the direct to consumer was like this advantage that was almost kind of impenetrable?
It was not about direct consumer. It was direct to consumer marketing, but fulfilled by a channel. And yes, there was a direct component from Nest.com that we'd sell.
Right.
But what all of these connected products are, and Kickstarter things you're finding out is you must have retail. Can't just go direct. If you go direct, you're going to get killed. Unless the people really know what they want for price or whatever, like you're buying a freaking iPhone cable or something, not a problem. But if you're trying to communicate to people, especially in the home, you need to interrupt them where they shop. And they don't usually you can't interrupt them online. They need to learn about it. We're educating them. There's a better way. And you need to do it where they go and they touch things. And they can learn about it. And so we had to have retail. We only started with 3 stores when we got going. But the results, the money just kept flowing in. And then it was now we have like 15,000 points of distribution, wow. Physical distribution, plus Amazon, plus our own e-tail stuff.
So that actually, you basically just made our last session obsolete, which was the end of retail. So
you need retail. Now it might be showrooming,
yes.
But you need to have something where people will touch it. It is not going to go away.
So Ron, do you agree with Ron Johnson on his philosophies of retail?
You mean enjoy or retail?
Retail.
Yeah, on retail, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. So where are you at in terms of going down that list of things that you want to digitize and disrupt? I mean, you mentioned 2 products that you had identified when you're building your house, and then you sort of stopped short of telling us of any other products that you...
Well, we have 3 products now in
okay.
the product family, and,
Sure.
and look, if you look at SKUs and all the stuff we do for various countries, we have about 20 SKUs. So it's actually, it might seem like it's a little bit, but there's actually a lot to meet for regions. But remember, our business model is not just sell hardware at a profit, okay? And it's also not selling data, okay? Our products are all about full feedback loops between control and data to inform control and back to data. So we are a connected sensors business. We have a sensor, we have control, and we have a connectivity to get the data in and out, and new software updates. That's what we really are in, okay? So first, it all starts with a really great product. People don't buy platforms. People buy products. Before, yes, there was Windows 95 and all that other stuff, people bought that. Today, no one buys platforms. Typically, not even corporates. A lot of new corporates, startups and stuff. They buy services, they buy products. So you have to start with a great product. But a great product isn't enough. You don't want to end up like a Samsung, which is, I got to just keep selling you new hardware. Because guess what? I'm not going to sell you a new thermostat every 18 months like you can a smartphone. It's going to be there for 10 to 12 years. That's on average, right? Smoke detectors, 7 to 10 years.
Well, it was a long courtship. 2.5 years earlier, I was at a TED conference, and Sergey Brin was there, and Sebastian Thrun said, "Oh, you must talk to Sergey," because he was helping us.
Yes.
He had the very first Nest prototype.
I have a feeling Sebastian's everywhere.
Sebastian, he's an amazing guy. He's a great friend, but he's got his hands in lots of things. He's a very smart guy. And so Sergey saw it and he was like, "Oh, this is wonderful. Can we buy you?" And he's like, no, not yet. No, that's not it. Can we invest? And that's where it started. And then there was subsequent investments into our company with others, not just Google. Then ultimately we went out for more money, and we had money on the table to make the next investment. Then Larry and the team approached us and said, "No, we think now is the time."
Okay, so tell me why you would sell, though. I mean, first of all, you have real hardline experience. You have access to money. Why did you need Google?
Well, this was about a mission. It wasn't about money, in terms of cashing out and going to a beach.
And money not to cash out, but money to do what you want to do. I mean, some people have great entrepreneurial ideas, but they do not have the capital.
Correct. Correct. But our vision is so large of what we want to do. We needed to expand our products and our developer, partnerships as broadly as possible. And then we had to go across the world. Before we did the acquisition, we saw our products being used in 100 countries where they weren't even sold. And I'm like, how long is it going to take for us to get to those 100 countries? And now it's 130 countries and growing. And I was like, and then we went to Canada, and then we were going to the UK and building offices and finding teams. And then I'm still trying to, put on new products. And it was becoming, I hate to wait for the future. I wanted the future to come today. Yeah. And so this was something that, when I was talking to Larry and we were talking about the vision, we were completing each other's sentences. And I was like, okay, that was the reason why we did it, is because we could accelerate the future, bringing it in much more rapidly. And that's what it was about. We started the company for a mission, and we want to see it fulfilled as quickly as possible.
What's the mission?
The mission is really to build a conscious home. And a conscious home doesn't mean, as we said, a smart home where it's technologically different. A conscious home is a home that, over time, over the last, hundreds of years, we've always taken care of our homes. Is there a way our homes can talk back to us a little bit so they could take care of us? Could they give us information so that when before the dishwasher breaks and ruins the floor, can we actually get ahead of it?
Yeah.
When I'm using energy much more so than I thought I did, because I just get the bill at the end of the month and it's opaque of where the money was spent. How can I get better information to make better decisions so that I can be more energy efficient and then ultimately be better for the community, better for the world?
You got to figure out how to monetize those things once they're in the home, and that's with services. And that's services both from enterprises that can pay, like utility companies or insurance companies, or consumers to pay. So if you look at it, it's modeled after the iPod model, which is sell a great piece of hardware, have great apps and services around it, and get them to build into the ecosystem, to buy into the ecosystem. Start with a great product, buy more services, buy more products, buy more services, and it goes around the horn like that. That's the way it's designed, as an ecosystem, and have third parties bond in to make that ecosystem even more substantial.
So Tony, as you're building a company where you've got these software competencies, these hardware competencies, data competencies, how do you as a leader track the kind of people to come in, and how do you have these various functions and groups work together or not work together to deliver the best product to customers?
Well, the thing is, we're still in the very early stages of this. So because there's still so many standards that haven't been, you hear about these things, feel like there's incompatibilities, data incompatibilities, wireless incompatibilities, all kinds of other things. So our goal first and foremost is we just tell them about our mission. One about the thoughtful home, one about saving energy, one about saving lives, keeping people safe and secure. People are like, employees are like, I want that. They don't want to go and do, Pavlov's dog, make it like, a slot machine in Vegas. Oh, I'm going to just keep clicking and keep giving you money. A lot of people were, jaded by that, and they didn't want to go work for companies like that. So a big thing is our mission, and that was before we were part of Alphabet/Google. People just want to join for what we were trying to do. And that continues to this day. It continues today, and now they want more on the design front. They can see that we're doing a whole end-to-end design that includes marketing, retail, all of those pieces, and they want to really live in it, and it's still small, so they can touch all of the different functions. They can learn about the different functions and get a real working knowledge for how these kinds of companies work, because there's very few of these full ecosystem-like companies that are small that you can learn about.
There's been a bit of a trend recently in the Valley, which is because you can use contract manufacturing, and because we're certainly probably all in agreement that hardware and software, the combination is more kind of potent, that Silicon Valley becomes the center of a lot of the new hardware disruption. What do you think that Silicon Valley gets wrong about starting hardware companies? What is still hard about the industrial world when you think about building kind of hard technology? And do you think that the Honeywells of the world, are those competencies, useful enough that they can get into software fast enough, or is that still not relevant for them to be able to leverage?
Most of the software engineers and where they get their software is from Bosch, from all these third parties. Most of that stuff comes from a third-party supplier. They outsourced all this stuff over the years. They got rid of it, and now they procured it like, oh, it's just a system here, and it's just a system here. That's not what it means to make a new experience. You can't buy it from a third party.
If we sort of had to force you to, though, fix a Honeywell or
How would I do
a Chrysler, I mean, can it be done?
Sure.
Okay.
So,
and what would you leverage in that process? What of the strengths of those companies, or at least the good parts of that DNA, would you take advantage of?
well, first, you need to create a new division, and it needs to report directly to the CEO. I've done this 3 times, so I've been through this.
That's the first 3 generations.
So you were there for the inception, the creation of the original iPhone.
Absolutely.
And how did that go? Like, where did that come from? Did Steve, run into the engineers? I don't know where he would run into. Did he run anywhere? Probably not. He did walk in somewhere and say,
He walked
I want
fast.
to. Yeah, but was he like, I want to make this thing, and here's what it looks like? Or was it a group?
There was all kinds of different gestations of it. Actually, we did 3 different types of iPhones. There was a iPod plus phone, and then there was the iPhone, and then there was the next generation iPhone, and that's the one that actually shipped.
Did any have a keyboard?
None of them had.
Was there was never
Well,
a version
virtual
that had,
keyboard.
Yeah, but like there was never a version with like a QWERTY?
Never had.
Really?
one.
Was it even discussed?
Well, it was definitely discussed. It was a heated topic.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Were there people that were for it and people that were against it?
Absolutely.
Were you for it or against it?
I had known a lot about touchscreens, and given my 15 years at the time, and so I was skeptical. I wanted to try it first.
Oh, so you were like a hardware guy. You were like, let's do a hardware keyboard.
I want to try it. I wanted it to work because it made sense that you wanted a full screen. You didn't just want a little keyboard. The biggest problem with the iPod plus phone was that we had a little screen and we had this hardware wheel, and we were stuck with that.
So you were literally like
We were making
an iPod and you were like
and a
making
phone.
calls.
Exactly.
That seems like it would be kind of not intuitive.
Well, you could make the old dial wheel.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, perfect recreation of a phone that hasn't been made in 50 years.
Sometimes you have to try things to throw it away.